Hi, everyone, and welcome to this webinar where we will discuss and talk about what you can do to increase the participation rate in your employee engagement surveys. My name is Emily. I work as a customer success team lead and have worked as a customer success manager for the past 3.5 years in the area where we talk about employee engagement surveys. And together today, I have my dear colleague Gino with me.
Hello, everyone. Shino is my name. I work as an enterprise account executive here at Relative. Been here for around 6 months now. And I have to say, I love the people, love the culture, and our product, of course. I've been in sales and leadership for over 20 years, and both in enterprises, small businesses, bigger businesses, and really looking forward to having this session with you. So let's see if we can inspire you.
Sounds good.
All right. But let's start with from the beginning. Why do we do employee surveys? Employee surveys, that's nothing new, actually. It's been around for a long time. So why do we torment our employees with these surveys all the time?
Good question.
When you take a look at the most successful companies out there, there's actually one of many things they have in common, but I'm particularly thinking of one. Do you know which one I'm thinking of?
I think I may know, but
yeah.
please tell.
It's about learning. The best companies out there, they learn over time and all the time, every day, and they try to actually improve. They try to see what kind of mistakes they do and what they actually do right. And if they also see that the employees are their best success factor out there. Why not start with feedback from the employees? So I would say that's one of the main reasons employee surveys are conducted. And we also know that there's a lot of feedback out there in all kinds of organizations, whether you do employee surveys or not. But the problem often is that it's scattered, it's all over the place, and it's stuck in silos. So what we are talking about here is a formula, a small formula for this. You see the employees in the middle, and then you have listen at the top. You start to understand the results you get in. You start to create actions, and that leads to performance. So this creates a feedback loop, a feedback culture within the company. So I would say that's a good foundation for, having a good growth in your company.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trends.
The trends we've seen for the past couple of years, but of course, they're still relevant to this day, is that organizations want intelligent surveys with the help of machine learning and AI. And what we mean by that is that organizations want to target their employees with the right kind of questions at the right time, so that we get the most important information in our reports from our employee engagement surveys. And that is what machine learning and AI can help out with. And then when we look at the digitalization, we want to go from more traditional tools to more digital and flexible solutions that's easy to set up, easy to maintain, but also to adjust according to our organizational culture, but also according to what's happening around the world that may affect our organization. And then we want agile processes that should be simple to implement, but also to adjust along the way so that we, in the best possible way, can act on the employee feedback that we receive from the employee engagement surveys. But you work and talk a lot with big organizations all around the world. What do you see in your conversations with them?
Interesting question. This is really interesting, of course. Let's have a look. So, feed forward. That's a bit of a good cousin to feedback, you could say. So feedback is generally something that already has happened, and you get feedback. But feed forward is more people-centric and is also more connected to our base needs. What can we actually do to improve ourselves in the future? So feed forward, people-centric, it goes hand in hand. And the best companies also see to use the latest technology out there. And now automated HR solutions are really skyrocketing in popularity, and it's growing very fast. And when you use automated HR solutions, you also get the privilege to make data-driven solutions, decisions
Mm.
out there. So data-driven decisions is fueling more and more big companies out there, enterprises. And I think that's really, really good.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll make data-driven decisions all of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. Okay, let's jump into the next slide here and start to dig deep down into the engagement surveys. And the topic for today. Engagement surveys, nothing without answers. What do we mean by that?
Yeah. Of course, one big step in becoming even better as an organization and to understand our people and their needs, we need to, of course, ask the questions. We need to have an employee engagement survey ongoing on a regular basis. But it will be very hard for us to actually get that insight if our employees do not feel encouraged or safe to leave their honest feedback when answering an employee engagement survey. So that is why we usually say that without answers, there is no truth, and it's very hard for organizations to make meaningful actions for the better. So we really need to get that feedback from our employees, and they need to feel encouraged and safe to share their honest opinion. And we have divided this webinar into 3 different phases, I would say, in the employee engagement setup. And these are the preparation, the implementation, and the follow-up. And all these 3 categories that we will go through is equally important to get everything set and done, to be able to work in the best possible way with employee engagement, but also, of course, to get a higher participation rate. So Tino, will you please start to tell more about the preparation?
Yes, of course. So preparation is important no matter what you do, of course.
Definitely.
And when you're doing things like these, when you're trying to really connect to your employees and get them on board, of course, you have to be able to communicate in a good way. So communication of purpose and benefits are central. A good way to do that is answer the questions of what, why, and how, for example. That's a good foundation. Set clear expectations, also another one, really important. Make sure to have surveys in multiple languages and multiple accessibility points. For example, voiceover, etc. Guarantee the anonymity of participants, really, really heavy one. And of course, train your managers and get buy-in from top management. So this last one is also really, really important to really get something done. When you have your managers on board and the buy-in from the top management, it's easier to deploy this.
Definitely. And when we have chosen which tool we want to use for employee engagement survey, but also, of course, when you are live with one, I would really recommend to integrate to your HR tool. That will help you to spend your time on the most sufficient things and not having to administrate user data, for example, in your engagement tool manually once you want to send out a survey. And then you also know that when you're looking at the results from the surveys, you also know that that report is based on the latest data that you have got from your HR tool. So that means that you only have to maintain user data in one tool. And that's really good looking at the time you have to spend otherwise. You can, of course, also tailor the tool according to your organization. All organizations, we do have a culture, we do use different wordings and so on. So make the employees feel like this survey actually belongs to us as an organization. Do a fun invitation and also adjust the questions so that they suit your organization in the best possible way. And something else to think about as well is to adapt depending on the white or blue collar employees you have in the organization. If you have 50-50 split, so 50% white collar and 50% blue collar, maybe then you can have the possibility to sound out more frequently surveys to white collar employees as the computer is more accessible for them than to your blue collar employees, for example. So do that search within the organization and find your way on how you want to send out the surveys. And when the survey is live, we need to make it easy and convenient for our employees to give their feedback in the survey. So if the majority of our people are working at the computer, for example, then maybe we should send out the survey through an email, or maybe we can have an application in our phones where we can leave our feedback if we are not at our computer. And if we have a blue collar heavy organization, then maybe it's good to have a computer that everyone can use to leave their feedback during a break or something like that. So we need to make it easy for people to leave the feedback. And then we also need to interact with the people who have not yet responded to the survey. And we can do that by sending out creative reminders to make people, get reminded on actually giving their feedback and what that can help the organization doing in the future. So interact with people along the survey duration is also recommended. But then the heavy work starts when we actually have the results from the survey, and that is the follow-up work. And as Chino mentioned before, this should, of course, already be a part of the preparation. You should prepare your managers, you should train them, they should know how to use the report and how they should work with it together with their team. Because this is not a work just for the manager. This is something that the whole team should do together. And when the manager have scheduled a meeting together with their team, they should be very transparent about the result and discuss the result with the team. They should also encourage open and honest feedback, and that can really lay a foundation for a culture where people feel like they trust each other and that they feel encouraged to give their honest feedback and to be able to discuss the different topics that we measure in the employee engagement survey. And together we should find and highlight our strength. I cannot stress this enough. When we look at the results, we should not only focus on the things that we can improve. We also really need to highlight the things that we do very well together and discuss what it is that you're doing great. And maybe you can take that with you to an area that you want to improve. So then you, of course, can identify areas for improvement. But one important thing is to not try to improve multiple areas at one time. Take one area that you want to improve and break it down to actions that you can start, stop, or continue to do to actually improve this area going further. And then based on that discussion, the manager should, together with the team, create the action plan so that everyone is aligned on what they're supposed to do and who's going to do what. And then when that is done, we of course need to follow up regularly to keep people aligned on what to do and when to do it and how we are progressing towards our goal and our action plan. And then on a regular basis, we should also celebrate the positive outcomes based on the work that we have put in together in this work. And then, of course, we need to communicate the changes that we've made. So if you find on the organizational level that the employees feel like the shares in the office is bad, for example, and you choose to change it into new shares, then you should communicate that. Everything should always tie back to that this is a change that we've made because you have given that feedback to us. So your voice really makes a difference in the organization. That is really important, and that can also encourage people to give their feedback in the future as well. So important loop, just as you showed in the start of this webinar, the loop of feedback that we continuously need to work on to make people feel encouraged to leave their feedback.
I really like these points. These are really heavy, as you said.
Yes.
This is the heavy part, the heavy lifting part. So there's no shortcuts. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. There's no shortcut, but to have an easy process, that's the best way. So it should not be too heavy for the managers. This is, of course, work that needs to be done. But if we can do it in a simple and fun way together with the team, maybe they can be encouraged to do it more often.
Yeah. And also another thing that stuck with me, start doing, stop doing, continue doing.
Yes.
Okay. Really, really good. Okay. Okay. Next one. Let's talk about best practice. So I actually added this without your knowing, Emily. When I started 6 months ago, I actually joined the meeting that you had with the customer, follow-up meeting. You've been working with that customer for like 12 months or something. And this was an enterprise customer. They were doing an annual survey. They had about 100 questions when they came to us. So 100 questions once a year. That was heavy for the organization. And they were actually wondering, do we actually have the right solution? So we were happy that they came to us and we started to help them, and you especially, start to get them on a path to work gradually towards once a month instead with Polsy.
Yeah.
And that's a great example. But the best thing was, of course, the results that they got. They ended up with 80 to 85% participation rate than before. Before it was very low. I don't remember the exact number now, but it was very low. But this is a really good number for enterprises. Would you say?
Definitely. For big organizations, it can be quite hard to get people on board. That's a massive work that needs to be done and to be done continuously to keep people on board on this loop. So yeah, this is great results, definitely.
Yeah, good. And of course, I asked myself, what happened here?
Yeah.
How did this happen? So the company and the managers and the HR, they showed appreciation towards their colleagues and the employees. And they actually acted upon the results that they got in from the pulses. And that in itself shows also dedication from the company. They updated their progress as a team together. So in an enterprise, there are lots of different teams. They work cross-functional and in matrix organization, etc. But they updated the progress as a team. So every team leader knew what to do. And they did that through clear expectations and simple processes.
Yeah.
And simple and processes together, that's a good match.
Yeah.
So that also led to that people felt seen and heard to basic needs, human needs out there. And it also gave maximum value both to the employees and the company, and of course to the good growth of the company. So I really love this example. I don't know if you remembered it, but
I think I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's great to see the work that the organization put in to get everyone on board actually led to such a great result.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Really good. Good. Okay. So where are we? Summary.
Yes. Exactly. So here we have pointed out 4 points that we want you to take with you when discussing and preparing for a employee engagement survey. And that can be your first one or your 15th one, for example. But these are crucial steps to make people participate in the survey. And the first is, of course, to communicate, as you mentioned, the purpose and the benefits. So why are we using this specific tool? Why are we asking questions about your work environment? And then, of course, the benefits of that for you as an employee to take your time to leave your honest feedback and what that really can help you, your team, and the organization as a whole. Then, of course, we should train our managers. Very important step. We need to get people aligned. The managers are like promoters inside the organization, and they should really be keen on wanting to know what their people are feeling and what we can do better as a team. So to train our managers is crucial, I would say, and not for the managers to feel like this is just the work for me as a manager. No, this is everything. We as a team should focus on this together. We should ensure anonymity, and we should also communicate about that.
Why is that important, actually?
Well, it is very important because we want the employees' honest feedback. And if people are not sure that their feedback is anonymous, then they may not actually leave a honest feedback or actually answer the survey at all.
So you say that they lose trust in
Definitely.
the survey.
Yeah. Anonymity is a big trust. So very important to have in mind. And then we need to do the heavy lifting, as you mentioned. We need to do the follow-up. And no, it does not have to be something major, big thing that happens once a year, for example, and we need to work on action plans for 6 months to a year. We should just try to narrow it down. The most important thing is for us to share and discuss the results. And then, as mentioned before, find the strength. And if you have an area that you feel you can do even better, then discuss that together and get everyone's feedback. They should just feel encouraged and empowered to take part in that discussion. And of course, it should feel this is coming from me because I want to share it and I'm not forced to. So also very important to be able to focus on the right kind of things. Yeah,
that's a great summary.
Yeah.
I also think that maybe all of the things that we've been talking about now actually leads to trust, building trust within the organization. When you have that, it's easier to elevate your reply rate and
Yeah.
your participation rate.
Definitely.
So trust drives participation rate.
Yeah, definitely. And
Well-
keep it simple. It doesn't have to be hard. Keep it simple, set clear expectations and playbooks, for example, for managers on how they can work on those topics together with their teams. And that will really, really help you, I'm sure.
All right.
Good. I think we're ready for a Q&A.
Yeah.
So maybe can see that we already have questions in the chat. Let's see here. What is the best participation rate you have come across? So I must say, in my case, I've seen 100% participation rate. So that is, of course, very good. But that can also, of course, be very hard for larger organizations. But in that case, I've actually seen 98% participation rate for a large customer. So that's amazing that the work they put in gave that
Okay.
result.
That's really high, 98.
It is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Then we also have, can you give example of creative reminders? Yeah, of course. So you can write something that feels close to the organization. Maybe you have already found an area since before that you've been working on. Have that in the reminders. Make people aware and remind them that we are actually focusing on different things thanks to the feedback that they leave. So I would tie it really much to the organization itself. I think that will give the most value and the people will recognize it.
All right. All right. Let's see now. Okay, there we have one. Okay, so I can take this one. What's the most common struggle for enterprises when it comes to surveys and participation rates? That's a great question. I would say, from my experience, this is connected to communication. That's more or less the foundation. An enterprise is very big. There's lots of people, lots of different layers. They're situated in different locations. The communication out to the different kind of levels of managers, I would say that's the biggest challenge and possibility that you have.
Yeah.
If you really make that happen, everything will go smooth. You get the communication out there and the managers know exactly what to do. As I told you in the best practice example, everything sorts out. But I would say that's the biggest challenge.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah,
I would say that's something that I hear as well in my discussion with our customers. That may be quite hard actually to.
Yeah, would you say that the communication plan would be the one of the answers?
Yeah, definitely. Communication plan, have a good process, and also to train the managers.
Yeah.
So that they feel safe with the tool they are using, they can navigate, they know what a specific value means, and so on. So I would say that's really a key to make people on board and feel safe.
Let's see, do we have anything more here?
Is there a difference when a business has had surveys for a long time versus a new initiative? Well, yes, I would say, because when it is a new initiative, then we have just a blank page to start off with. So it can be quite much easier to implement new things when we have a brand new tool, for example. If we've been having surveys for a longer time, then it can be harder to change that behavior, for example, in managers and how we act upon the results. Also, of course, if the trust have been lacking since starting, so then we need to start building up on that. So I would say that can be a challenge, but also, of course, a difference in that. But there are many things that you can do to really try to get that trust again, and to get people work with the result and leave their feedback.
Okay, that's good. It's really good.
Let's see here. You also mentioned playbooks. I've seen many a playbook come along and then just sit there and gather dust. Do you have any tips for how you can make using the playbook a natural part of the day-to-day? How to make it, or another format, engaging? Well, that's a good question, and of course something to have in mind. I would say, if it's possible, to update the playbook according to maybe what's happening around the world, and that may affect the organization at a specific time. That can, of course, be helpful. Maybe also different scenarios. So if you want to focus on actually finding an area that you want to improve, then maybe we can have a specific slide for that, or like a small workshop together. And maybe another meeting for the manager to go through the result should maybe only focus on the positive things and discuss what you're doing very well. So I would say different scenarios can actually be very helpful to make it a natural part. And just as you mentioned, like having a playbook and the work as a natural part, I would say that having the expectations on the managers to actually go through the result and have this as a part of their work as a manager will also help you to get that into the culture of your company. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. What is the best amount of questions in a survey? Yeah, so this one you can answer in many ways.
Yes.
Let me have a go at this one. This one depends, of course. Depends what you're after. Depends what the meaning of the survey is. Of course, you can make small surveys containing just one project. You can make a survey for continuously measuring engagement and well-being. So you have different kind of surveys. So I wouldn't give one answer to that question actually. But if we look at what we do at Ellutive, we have one question battery, you could say, that consists of 46 questions. But these 46 questions are split up on different kind of frequencies.
Yeah.
And you can choose every week, every second week, every month, the one that chooses and suits you best.
Definitely.
But in that way, you are very sure that you actually measure the engagement and the well-being in the organization in a regular way, all the time.
Yeah.
So it really depends on how you use the survey.
And how often you want to send it out, right?
How often do you want to send it out?
Yeah.
Exactly. So in bigger companies, you have different kind of departments, maybe white collars, they have one frequency and blue collars have another frequency.
Exactly.
So that's something that we are really, really keen on and really like to help customers with.
Definitely.
Also, so
yeah.
Great question.
Great question. Do we have any more questions in the chat?
Let's see. Do we have anything else here? This one?
I don't know. Let's see here. I don't think so, actually.
No?
No.
I think we're wrapping up.
Yeah. Wait a few seconds if you have any more questions. Otherwise, thank you so much for listening into this webinar.
Thank you. And I really hope you got a bit inspired by,
yes.
by this webinar. And of course, happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Have a great one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.